Welcome to the Global Investor Podcast, a show that focuses on helping foreign investors enter the lucrative U.S. real estate market. Host Charles Carillo combines decades of real estate investing experience with a professional background in international banking to interview experts in all areas of U.S. real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Charles Carillo.
Welcome to another episode of the Global Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Carillo. Today we have Ryan Hill. He was previously an elementary school principal after teaching high school science for 13 years, while simultaneously being a real estate agent involved in over $40 million in transactions. Today, Ryan is the Chief Operating Officer at Suncrest Capital, a mobile home investment firm, and he works closely with community managers to ensure optimal occupancy and efficiency. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Charles. Appreciate it.
So you have a very interesting story before getting into what you currently do. Can you give us just a little bit of a background personally and professionally before getting into real estate investing and ultimately into mobile home parks?
Sure. Yeah. As you mentioned, I was in education for about 22 years. I started out as high school science teacher for 13 years and coached a bunch of sports, and that was before marriage. And then that took a bit of a back seat, obviously, for priorities, and then got into real estate in 2008, just started 2009. So perfect timing with the market collapsing and the housing market kind of imploding. So, and the reason was, my son was born just a few months earlier, working as a teacher, and just like cost of daycare and everything. I was like, I've got to do a side hustle, got to do something else. Always been interested in real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad like a lot of people, a few years before that, and just dove in. Rough couple of years to get started, just as a residential real estate agent during that time while I was teaching and still doing some coaching. Then I partnered up. I'm a strong believer in partnerships, so I partnered with another teacher realtor who ended up being a mentor and friend. So we did that for about 12 years, and then it was time for a move from Washington State to Idaho, where I live now, get closer to other family, and I didn't want to rebuild the residential real estate clientele in a different state. And where I am in Idaho, I can throw a rock and probably hit about 5 realtor houses. So there were plenty of them. So I had been researching mobile home parks for probably about a year and a half before that move. I'd been listening to a lot of podcasts, connecting with other park owners. And this was right before there's a few really solid mobile home park investing podcasts out there. There were just a couple at the time. Frank Rolfe, Mobile Home Park Mastery, is the first one I started listening to. Started doing some mailers and cold calling, trying to find properties before we moved, and hadn't done that yet. So we moved in 2019. I was still a principal here in Idaho for 3 years, all the way up until about a year and a half ago. So we bought our first park in 2019, my wife and I, and that was a small 20-space park just south of Kansas City, about 40 minutes. It's a small town in Lacine, and just kind of dove in. And as much as I knew wasn't enough. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go in. But at some point, you got to start, and you're going to make mistakes and learn from them. So that's background of kind of the intertwining of my W-2 along with real estate and transitioning from that residential real estate agent into more of a commercial.
So I always like to ask people how they got into their asset classes. And I know, mobile home park, like a lot of residential based asset classes here in the last few years have really taken off. I think with multifamily really leading that. But why did you choose mobile home parks over, there's literally a dozen types of commercial asset classes you can invest into.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a small retail center, and 3 RV parks as well, which are very different than mobile home parks. But the original mobile home park, I had a friend that he was managing this mobile home park that his father-in-law owned, and so I was intrigued by kind of what I was hearing and learning, and like, wait, you can buy a whole mobile home park for the cost of a single family home. I've got and a small, granted a smaller one, but even a 10 space park that's getting $300 lot rents. Um, you're cash flowing much better than a single family home would be, and your risk is mitigated by the occupancy, right? A single family home, it's 100% or 0% occupancy. There's no in between. So as we know with multifamily, that obviously changes the script. So so the entry cost for this asset class is much less than a lot of others that I found. And then just doing the basic math with it, I was like, this makes total sense. Like it wasn't yet. I think it's now become a darling asset in a way. Like the secret's out, and it wasn't at that point, but it's changing still. I think the perception has changed for that asset class.
Let's kind of move forward here and tell us a little bit about your company, Suncrest, and your role at the firm.
Sure. So my business partner, Brett Bowman, we connected in 2020, and I had through a mutual friend, and he was interested in mobile home parks, and he and his friend had just been talking about it. I had just come back from my mobile home park doing some work on. I was repairing a roof, I think, and came back and they wanted to talk mobile home parks. So there was another park about a half mile down the road from that first one in the scene that was off market. I knew the seller, and we ended up, the three of us, going in together and purchasing that. Nice. Brett had a background in investing in multifamily and doing syndications and underwriting. So those weren't my skill sets at the time. So my operational experience, which was still not super long time, but had some expertise in it. And then his background with being able to syndicate and understanding more of the depth of underwriting needed. We started Suncrest up, and the first portfolio we purchased was a 4-park portfolio in Iowa, mostly around the Des Moines area. And we syndicated that. And from there, most of our properties have been groups of mobile home parks that have been syndicated from 3 to 6. And then we've added some RV parks and the one retail center, as I mentioned, along the way. So most of it's centered in the Midwest, Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri. Our most recent acquisition, we only did one in 2023. We underwrite a ton of them. But just with economic conditions and it's just thin on paper trying to underwrite these deals. So we found a fairly solid off-market deal that's cash flowing like a monster, and that's just south of New Orleans, long-term RV park that we're excited about.
Yeah, 2023 was very difficult for finding deals. I'll tell you that. I mean, we didn't even do one deal in 2023. We did a couple in 2022, mainly at the end of it. But it was 2023, a very difficult year. Lots of underwriting and lots of disappointment, I guess you'd say. But also seeing deals that have been going south now from the last 2 years, you're very happy when you look back and you go, wow, there's tons of deals we could have done that now have gone the wrong way. So it's you gotta kind of stick to those numbers and your principles. So on my first real estate investment decades back, I mean, I could almost write a small book on the learning lessons from it, right? And stuff that you just take for granted now, or someone tells you on a podcast. But what are some of the learning lessons from your first mobile home park investment?
Yeah, so the first one, I didn't have enough in reserves for. There are a number of park-owned homes, so we're renting the home or leased on the home that needed quite a bit of work, and I wasn't prepared for that from a money standpoint. So it's, as those came along and things needed to be repaired, floors need to be redone, furnaces, whatever it might be, I didn't anticipate how much I would actually need for that. So we factor, everyone says they're conservative in their underwriting, and I think we've gotten more conservative over time as we've learned more of these lessons with home repairs. But a big one also is the utilities and making sure if we've gotten bit by water systems that need to be redone, sewer lines that that you've got some Orangeburg in there, which is basically a reinforced cardboard sewer line that they did way back in like the 50s and 60s that should have never been in the ground. So we've come across that before. So I think our due diligence has gotten much stronger over time as we've learned through these learning opportunities / mistakes that can sometimes be expensive. So I think a couple of things is the capital up front, making sure that you have enough for unforeseen things that are going to pop up. And then your due diligence on especially infrastructure is super solid, and you're scoping lines, you're calling around to other contractors in the area, just finding out the history of the parks. We've passed on parks just by doing that, like just multiple plumbers, for example, say, I won't even go into that community or that park to do any work. It's a landmine of utilities. Nothing's marked. I start digging and it's going to cause chaos with whatever. I'm going to cut through electric lines or sewer lines or water lines. So we're like, no, I don't want to get involved in that one.
So when underwriting deals, I imagine you have a number of strict requirements for metros you invest into. Can you share some of those with us? Because with how your parks are, you have them all over the Midwest, I think, for the most part. How do you find out this could be a good metro, and what are some of the factors that go into that?
Yeah, so I think for a new metro, and we do look at new metros. So we're looking at we prefer 75 to 100,000 plus population within the metro, 40,000 plus for median family income, and then $100,000 plus for the average home sale price. And that's because if we're selling brand new homes at $60,000-$70,000, we don't want to be competing against used homes that have their own postage stamp of land and that type of thing. So we've passed that's our initial like less than 5-minute due diligence of a deal comes our way, whether it be through a broker, a cold call, or a mailer or something like that. We quickly look at the best places stats, and if they don't hit those marks, population we'll play with a little bit, but usually we'll pass on the others. If it's a park within a metro we're in, so right now we're centered around like Kansas City area, Des Moines, and Springfield, Missouri. So those are our main hubs. Now we have parks outside of that we've gotten at great deals, but within those areas, we'll buy a smaller park, like 20 or 30 spaces, if it makes sense, just because we have the scale there and we have the person power and contractor relationships to make it work. But we wouldn't likely buy a 20 or 30 space park somewhere that we have no presence, unless it may be like Denver, Colorado, or something like that. So those are the basics that we're looking for. We prefer tenant-owned homes. We don't like the rental game. And if we do get park-owned homes, we try to sell those off or lease to own. And we have a number of financial, we're partners with PEP, Triad, 21st, just to name a few, that we can help people get financing for these homes. So.
Yeah, that's great. I was also looking on your website, and you guys are on your community website, and you guys are actively selling homes. And, as I've spoken to any successful mobile home operators, and it's really getting out of the rental, owning property and renting game, and back into and just staying in the lane of renting out lots.
Yeah, and there is, there are people that do like the other model. It just, you have to have solid systems and people in place that know what they're doing, looking at those homes frequently and maintaining them. And if you do, you can make more money that way, but it is a lot more time and capital intensive than the model we prefer.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, when we're going into apartment complex, there's a lot of, you're putting in huge reserves for a lot of unknowns. And yeah, you can walk properties, but you're in the units for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? If that. So you're really just grading them on what you see, and you're walking to the next one. And so I see there's a lot more room for unknowns when you start taking on the almost rental apartment type business, right? Compared to just knowing that your infrastructure is sound and that people have been there and whatever due diligence that you do on your tenants. Do you have money sitting in the stock market and you're worried about it? Or worse, you have money sitting at the bank, not keeping up with inflation? My name is Charles Carillo, founder and managing partner of Harborside Partners. And since 2006, I've been investing my money and my family's money into income producing properties. These are real assets, real properties with real addresses that produce real cash flow. At Harborside Partners, we provide passive investors who love real estate with a turnkey investing solution. If you want to put your money to work in real estate but can't find deals, don't have the time to get funding, and the last thing that productive people want to do is manage real estate. We find the deals, we fund the deals, and we manage the tenants, the termites, and the properties. Partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. Go to investwithharborside.com. If you love real estate, you like the idea of passive income, and believe that income-producing properties will appreciate over time, go to investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. So, as I read earlier in your bio, you work with community managers and you drive efficiency. So, after working with dozens of mobile home parks, I mean, what are some of the normal inefficiencies that you encounter? I imagine you encounter this during your due diligence and your underwriting. And how do you typically rectify those issues after you've taken control of the property?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so many systems you have to have in place to make sure that the main things are being taken care of. Obviously, the rental collection, and then people are following the rules. They're paying to play, and they're playing by the rules. And then the CapEx projects that we have planned as well, that a lot of moving parts and organization. So as an organization, we read the book Traction by Gino Wickman. So we've implemented the EOS system. So we have weekly leadership meetings that follow that system. I highly recommend anybody to read that. Just it was a game changer for us, and efficiencies and follow through and accountability. So it's making sure that if I'm meeting with community manager or regional manager and we're going through like delinquents, for example, and we've got to hit our 2 late notices and then a 3-day pay or quit, and then we've got to send it off to the attorney. And a lot of times that stuff can get dropped, and it's having systems in place that are setting reminders, follow up, just making sure that those pieces are being taken care of. So your collections aren't dropping down. Maintenance within the parks. We've had a situation where the city has like given us a warning for the grass is too high, and we thought we took care of it, and then 4 months later the grass got too high again, and now the city comes in and they mow the whole thing and charge us like $2,500 for this small little park that should have taken a few hours, right? So it's those types of mistakes were made, and then you rectify it with systems to make sure that those things are being followed through with when they're supposed to be. So those are, I think, the EOS, and we use Trello as our project management board and tracking tool, so you can set the reminders on there. So that's been super helpful in organizing us.
Yeah, Trello is a game changer for our business. I have to say that. But it's just, I use it personally, and then we use it within our businesses. And it's something there's so many moving parts with any of the businesses. And it's just keeping on track of it, keeping on top of it, and making sure that when someone you're working with is looking at what their next step is or what they're doing, you have a plan there of what the goals are that we're focusing on.
Yeah, for sure. And we have probably around 200 park-owned homes, and a number of those are vacant that need rehab. A number of them are leased to own, so they're essentially sold. But we have to keep track of all of those, and it becomes a bit of a nightmare because you have the titles, because the mobile homes are treated as personal property like a vehicle for those that don't know. So they have a title just like your car, truck, or boat. So just the logistics of keeping track of all of that is quite a bit. So Trello is very helpful just to have a card for each one, and you can move it down the line as you're rehabbing and listing and selling.
So that's one question just before we kind of move on to the next section is just when you're selling one of these homes, say it's vacant, because if someone's in there, obviously you probably sell it with the same condition, right? They're living in there, they're renting it from you, you get them to buy it from you or at least own or whatever type of creative financing solution. I doubt these people are your tenants are paying cash for them up front. Maybe some are, but I feel there's a lot of financing with it. What happens when you have a vacant one? Are you guys renovating this, rehabbing this, updating this at all before you bring in the tenant and putting them in that lease to own situation?
Yeah, great question. It's really all of the above. So we offer all of them as a handyman special is right, and people come in and fix them up, and we do a lease to own contract. So our goal is to create home ownership for people that have never had that. So through the lease to own, a lot of people have dings on their credit where they can't. They obviously can't qualify for financing. So we'll do the lease to own contracts. But how we structure it is the payment's going to be a bit higher than once they do qualify for financing, because we want some incentive for them to do that. What we've also started just a few months ago, we've partnered with Isusu, ESUSU, and they will report on-time rent payments for our tenants. And they don't report anything negative. It's only positive credit reporting. So another company that we partner with, Elevate Capital, they've been using it for quite a while. And like for an entire mobile home community, I believe their credit score average went up about 50 points.
Wow.
For those folks just doing
Game
that.
changer. Yeah.
It totally is. And so people that have maybe a 400, 450 credit score within 4 or 5 months, we can get them up to, I think 550 is the minimum for our finance partnerships. Get them above that is our goal, so that we can get the financing. It is their home. They're paying the mortgage on it, so to speak. So, but we're also piloting a program that I'm excited about, that we're just starting, using investor dollars to fund the rehab of the home for a profit share. So let's say the home costs $20,000 to rehab. The investor will front that. We know there's margin. We've been selling these homes that have been rehabbed to this extent for $30,000 to $40,000. So there's $10,000 to $20,000 of upside. And the investor will get 80% of that. Park gets 20%. We're creating a home for somebody. So hopefully it becomes a win-win-win for everybody involved. If it's a lease to own, the investor gets those interest payments. They'll get 80% of whatever the LTO is. So we're trying to keep it very simple with that 80-20 split. So we have 5 homes that we're starting towards the end of this month, just to proof of concept, and then we'll roll it out to more of our communities and also extend that opportunity out to other community owners.
Yeah, that's a great solution for people, because now they're getting this new home for $30,000 or $40,000, and they can focus on paying it off and not having to worry about making repairs and everything over the first 5 or 10 years. You know what I mean? So that's great. So, well, for Ryan, for people listening who might want to leave their safe job and go out on their own, what was your decision process like for you and your family, and what was the ultimate deciding factor of you to go out?
Sure. Yeah, and it's going to be different for everybody, I feel. But for me, it was, I was full-time elementary school principal. And as we're building Suncrest up, it became more and more challenging to balance both of those. I mean, literally burning candle at both ends. And I was looking for freedom of time. It's not necessarily less stress. A lot of the skills and learning opportunities of being a principal and in education translate well to the position I'm in now with running operations and dealing with people and issues and problems that come up every day, really. But the money part's going to be a big question for people. So it's what can you separate with that you're going to feel comfortable enough to provide for yourself if you're by yourself, or for your family, and grow this business that you believe in, and that is going to be successful. So for me, it was essentially replacing my current income. I took a bit of a pay cut, but it was it was a priority for me to do this, and we cut back in other places. So I think it's measuring what your priorities are, and then adapting your budget or whatever it is, kind of to follow your dream, make your dream come true and to happen. So we wouldn't be able to be where we're at now. We're at 20 mobile home parks and 3 RV parks in the retail center. If I was still doing part-time, because my business partners still has, he's full-time W-2, and our other partners full-time W-2. And so it's challenging if you don't have the full time to devote to it, to grow it.
Yeah. It's great that you guys are all on the same page and working with each other and their schedules. And because everybody's situation is a little different, and that's a lot of great information. It's really kind of figuring out what your priorities are, I think, and really just taking that leap.
Yeah, the leap it's challenging. I was in education for that long, and it's a very secure job with you've got retirement, you've got all those really attractive aspects of it, and that this is I believe in this, and it's happening, it's working, we're growing, and it's fun. I enjoy it. Like, I get up and I enjoy what I do every day, and then I have flexibility. I can schedule meetings when I need to and have family time when I want to. So it just works.
Nice. So Ryan, what are some of the common mistakes over the years that you've seen mobile home investors make?
Yeah, probably a lot of the same ones I made when I first started. At some point you do have to jump in, but it's having the education and background, or partnering with other people. So my advice would be to invest with people that have been doing it for a while. We offer several investments for as deals come in, but there are a lot of quality operators out there. So I'd strongly suggest people try that route first, to as limited partners, and kind of learn from afar. But if you're more risk tolerant and you want to just jump in, what I've seen is people aren't educating themselves. I see it on the Facebook forums for mobile home parks. So I try to reach out to them. Just a couple of days ago, somebody was asking for, hey, I'm looking at this mobile home park I want to buy, or I think I almost have it on contract. What question should I ask the seller? I'm like, oh, okay, let me help you out. So both my business partner and I, we enjoy helping people. We offer scheduled time for people to connect with us, to kind of learn, like, what should I do? What steps should I do? There's Mobile Home Park University out there. I'm working with another investor. We're actually developing our own mobile home park investing and operating course, and a Lonnie dealer fix and flip course as well. There's some out there. We believe we're providing a different value than what's already on the market. But I'd say education, connecting with other owners, and look at that limited partner investment opportunity before you jump into your own. I've seen more people successful with that route rather than just jumping in and then asking questions later.
Yeah, that's a lot of great information. And also, if you go the limited partner route, you can also now you can request time from that general partner in most situations to get a little bit more of an idea of what's happening at the park, or maybe they'll give you more of an update with normal correspondence. So there's a lot of benefits in going the LP route, but really it's really the education of and figure out what you really want, because I think a lot of people get into real estate investing, they just want passive income,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. And when you're on the operating side, it's parts of it are semi-passive, right? But there's a lot of operations that go into it to get it to that point for your a true passive investment for your LPs.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen that the excitement wears off very quickly for people, and if it's truly not what they want to do, and they were looking for mailbox money, that property's in trouble. That asset's in trouble. So I've seen that happen a lot. So it is really, like, to your point, knowing what you want to do in the long run, and if you want mailbox money, there's plenty of opportunity for that out there. If you want to grind it out on the general partner side and operations side, where eventually there's going to be a big payoff, and then you can maybe be a little less active, go for it. But it is not sit back and collect the checks. So
For sure. So Ryan, how can our listeners learn more about you and your business?
yeah, so suncrestcap.com is our website. We have an investor portal there. There's information on Brett and I, and you can reach out and schedule time to meet with either of us. Brett's more on the investor side of things, so if you're interested in that limited partner opportunity, he'd be the one to talk to. If you want to learn more on the operations, I'm the one that you can connect with. But we both know enough about the other side to be dangerous, so. But yeah, we love to connect with new people, especially new folks in the space, just educate them. We want to see this space grow, and with quality folks that are taking care of their communities and their tenants, and to change the mindset of the asset type. Like, there's so much preconception that's not positive with mobile home parks. I prefer manufactured home communities, but most people know them as mobile home parks or trailer parks. So we're improving these communities. We're raising, we raise rents in a responsible way to keep the highest and best use of the property. I could talk a lot about that, but I won't. As a mobile home community, otherwise, within a given year, you have there's roughly 100 mobile home parks in the country that are wiped off the map, rezoned, redeveloped, and maybe 10 being built or 10 being, so there's a net loss of this opportunity out there, which it's tough. And a lot of the times it's because mom and pop owners have kept rents so low that that's not the highest and best use of that property anymore. So we try to do that responsibly, so we're not pushing people out, but also trying to provide that affordable housing for folks.
Yeah, that's great, Ryan. Well, also for listeners, there's a lot of great information on the Suncrest website. A lot of their strategy and criteria is clearly broken out down there. So people interested in passive investing or actively investing in manufactured home communities, they can find that information there. So I want to thank you again for coming on today, Ryan, and looking forward to connecting with you here in the near future.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome opportunity, and appreciated chatting with you today.
Hi guys, it's Charles from the Global Investors Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're interested in getting involved with real estate but you don't know where to begin, set up a free 30-minute strategy call with me at schedulecharles.com. That's schedulecharles.com. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Global Investor Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to get new weekly episodes. For more resources and to receive our newsletter, please visit globalinvestorpodcast.com. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.